All right, guys, welcome in. My name is Chase Swearingen. I'm with Noah Morgano. We currently have an untitled Illinois basketball podcast, but we will be talking about Illinois basketball and only Illinois basketball on this podcast. Like I said before, I'm with Noah Morgano here. I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I have three words. Kylan Boswell, Andrei Stojakovic, must see TV. And I
I
got one more thing.
Oh, he's got the shirt.
I've got the shirt on the same day that Brad Underwood pulls out the tracksuit, and I got the hat, of course, and I bought the cap that they came with the jumpsuit because the jumpsuit itself was $200. I'm not trying to spend that kind of money.
But it's going to the
However,
NIL store, man.
I did have $20 for the cap, which it was like a super good deal, $20. I'm like, okay, for sure, I'll buy that. So that's on its way. More importantly, lifelong Illini fan here. I've been an Illini fan literally since I can remember. My dad went to school there, undergraduate, graduate school in the 80s. So I don't remember the March Madness run, the Final Four run, because I was like, what year would that have been? '05.
It was '05.
I would have been like 5 or 6 years old. So I don't remember that. My earliest Illinois memories, though, probably I do vaguely remember like the Tisdale years. The I remember the Indiana game, that crazy upset, number one.
Yeah,
I
with Tyler
remember
Griffey.
exactly what I was doing. I was in my living room. My dad was out shoveling snow in the driveway, and I was like doing, whatever, homework or something. They tip it in. It was insane. It was 1 second left. They tip it in. I run outside. I'm like, oh my God, they won the game. They won the game. He comes running inside. So Illinois basketball has been always been my favorite sport. I love the football team, but I'm a basketball guy. Love Brad Underwood. Love the program. Was a big Bruce Weber guy. Loved him a lot. So
I mean,
Illinois, bar none, my favorite program. I went to DePaul. I love DePaul basketball, but it's just tough. It is what it is with DePaul basketball right now. So I'm full on Illinois. Now, I will say in the past, I wasn't super into it, like high school, middle school. But like the last 5 years, dude, I'm full on the bandwagon. I'm ready to go. I need to get back to a game because I've only been to probably two Illinois games my whole life, and it was like over 10 years ago. So I'm due for a game.
you got to get back to the new like the after the previous renovations they've had. It's I was there Saturday for the LIU game. Um,
Yes.
I mean, I will say we've grown up in a pretty blessed era of Illinois basketball, I will say. Once Brad came in my earliest memories, it's funny you say you don't remember the 2005 game. I don't remember watching it because my mom made me go to bed. I had a bedtime when I think I was in kindergarten that year. I would have been 5 or 6 years old. And
Hmm.
my mom made me go to bed. It wasn't near the end of the game because I would remember watching a little bit of it. But I remember saying like, "This is the championship game. You can't make me go to bed." Uh, she says to me, these were her exact words. "Don't worry, Chase. They'll be back in another championship soon."
Oh my
Which is
God.
tough. I mean, it's my mother, so I can't blame her. I just don't think she understood the gravity of the NCAA tournament and the parity behind it all. And I remember
He
waking
could
up the
have
next
jinxed us.
morning.
That may be the reason that we haven't gone back.
I I agree with you. I think it's my mother's jinx. I'm not going to hold it against her forever, but I remember waking up the next morning and being like, "Hey, mom!" I ran into the room before school. "Mom, mom, mom! Did they win?" My dad had already gone off to work, and her first words to me were, "Do you really want to know?" And I cried for the rest of the day. I cried for the rest of the day. I mean, I used to go on my basketball hoop in my driveway and pretend I was D Brown. I mean, seeing and
Facts.
hearing D for three from the old PA announcer was like the coolest thing ever as a kid. Growing up a little older, there were some rougher years with, you know,
Yes.
the Egwu and the John Gross
Yes.
era. There were some highlights of it,
Yeah.
obviously. I would
Yeah.
say another fun memory for me was I used to go to the Illini basketball camp when I was probably fifth or sixth grade. So we used to scrimmage those players. It was like the special last day, and you'd scrimmage the Illini players. So I have my favorite basketball playing memory is when Joseph Bertrand absolutely posterized me. And he was extremely athletic, never really lived up to the hype that I thought he would, but he did poster me. I think he was like, his knees were at my face. I must have been like 5'1" or 5'2" at the time, and he fully
Decent.
jumped over me. So that was a good memory. But, we're chatting old basketball here, but we've got a previous game just took place on Monday night. I had the ability to watch some of it. I was in a euchre tournament with some friends, which we ended up winning, which was cool. But I didn't get to watch all of it until the other day, and then I went through and watched the whole game. So we're gonna get into some things we liked, some things we didn't like, and honestly, no, there was a lot to not like in that game for a team that's playing in Madison Square Garden at 11:30 Central Time on Friday against the number 7 team in the country, UConn. Depends on what rankings you're looking at them, but I believe they're at least top 10 in everybody's
Michigan's
bracket.
7 right now, and I don't even want to talk about what they just
Oh,
did to Gonzaga.
yeah, we don't need to discuss that on the third podcast ever. We'll talk more Big Ten basketball another time, but they do have UConn on Friday. Wherever they're ranked, they're at least top 10, and it's going to be a tough game. But firstly, they played UT Rio Grande Valley. Um, Mouthful there. The Vaqueros. Illinois won 87 to 73. They were up by 20 at one point. It was a back and forth game for at least the entire first half. I never really felt like it was in danger, but for a team that's as talented as Illinois, you definitely want to see more effort, especially from guys like Kylan Boswell, older guys. But I'll let you go ahead and give your first takes on that. I just wasn't impressed, to say the least.
First half was extremely concerning. The fact, though, that we scored almost 90 and we looked as bad as we did does give me some hope. But I will say I watched pretty much the entire game, and the first 15 minutes were just like so boring and uneventful. I mean, there was nothing going on. Nobody could make any shots. It was a very slow-paced game from Illinois' end, but UT Rio Grande Valley, they were pushing the pace. I mean, they didn't care who they were up against. They didn't care that Illinois had the size, They were taking it right to us, driving in the lane. So I was pretty impressed with them, and they were also just making shots. Like they just had a crazy percentage. So the fact Illinois won by as much as they did, I mean, they won by like 20 points. And quite frankly, last year's team probably would have won that by 4 points. So it does give me
Yeah,
some hope, but it
I
was
mean, there were positives certainly if you look at it. It was interesting. It was interesting to watch them play a close game for I guess the second or third time this year because everything else besides Texas Tech and Alabama has been a blowout so far. So it was interesting to watch them kind of like respond to this pressure that they had against them. And I will admit, like you said, UT Rio Grande was kind of hitting everything. There were some circus shots they threw up there where I was like, I don't even know how that went in. They had that one guy, Bronkovich, who I'm fairly certain Brad Underwood will be recruiting after that game now because he ends with itch and he's Balkan and he plays really hard too. He had a
he
good
was
game. He had
he's
50.
boys with Petro. They played together, so
Oh,
he's
I
got
didn't know that. Did they play in the ABA league?
yeah, they played on Mega Bet or whatever that team was that they were
Oh,
with.
okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I'm sure the Illini, as an Illini fan, we didn't have him on our radar, but I'm sure the Illini scouting report had him on their radar. Also, Kai Dixon with a good game, 21 points. Now, something I want to point out here that I wasn't too impressed with, at least, if you look at the numbers, the rebounding margin was plus 12 for Illinois, 44 to 32, but it just felt like Rio Grande was getting I mean, they were getting rebounds. We had
Yes.
Tommy in, we had Zvonimir in. This is a significantly shorter roster than Illinois, and they were kind of forcing their will in there. And that's not something you want to see going into a UConn game because UConn's much bigger. Um, we'll get to that in a moment, but it was a little alarming to me. I know Brad was talking to Bruce Weber, which was a little ironic after the game, and said this was a doo-doo game. Um,
Well, part of the reason the rebounding looked so bad, what I noticed, Illinois would grab a rebound and it would just get poked out and they would just turn it over. And it's like you gotta hold on to the ball. And that's where you miss guys like Dane Danger and Kofi, who that when they take that ball, that's their ball. You're not getting
yeah.
that ball. But then, Keaton Wagler goes up and grabs the rebound. And they smack it right out of his hand. So that was something I noticed, unfortunately. But even still, I mean, you have so much more size than them. They should
Hmm.
not be getting above you and getting these rebounds and elevating above you. So it's concerning. I don't know if it's an effort issue. I mean, the fact that we were like the best rebounding team in the country for the first 3 or 4 games, and then now all of a sudden we can't, grab a rebound and save our life. It's worrying, but I like to think that Illinois doesn't usually have 2 bad games in a row. So
Yeah.
I think UConn, the rebounding will be better. And also, it's going to come down to if Terrace Reed plays. I think he probably will play a little bit, but apparently this other guy they got instead of him is also really, really good. So it's definitely something they need to prioritize and practice, as well as the free throws, which seem to have been better last
They've
game.
been cleaned up since the Bama game, that's for sure. That I was at that Bama game and it was almost hard and painful to watch. Oh, my cat's gonna jump up in the screen here, but it was almost hard to watch them miss that many free throws and then realize they only lost that game by 5 points, 4 points, and you were like, wow, if we made I mean, they didn't even have to go perfect from the stripe, but if they made 80%, they would have tied the game at least. So it was tough to watch. But they've done a little bit better on that end. And I will say, you mentioned they don't usually have 2 bad games in a row. Now we're going to have a much larger uh, level of talent that we're about to face in UConn compared to UTRGV. But, you give Brad 3 days to yell at these guys. I,
Yeah,
especially after like I got to admit like what I thought UTRGV did well was probably I think they did a good job of watching scouting reports on Illinois and kind of exposing what people already knew Illinois wasn't great at. And they got a lot of turnovers. Mahilo came into the game, and a lot of people were impressed with him. I was impressed too, especially in the limited minutes he played. But he does have a tendency to dribble the ball very high, especially when it comes around a screen, and it's exploitable. Same thing with Keaton. Keaton is very smooth in the lane, but his go-to move is kind of like that turnaround jumper sometimes, and when he comes around with the ball, it's also
well,
up high,
dude,
easy to
you
get
want to talk
turned
about
away.
turnovers? We got to mention Merkovich because he has a problem. He'll try to
Yeah.
booty ball, and then they
Hmm.
just double team him, and it's like he's 4 years old and he doesn't know what to do. It's like he needs to either pass that out quicker or just shoot the three ball. But he's just been struggling with the three ball lately, and I know people. He Brad criticized him, and people are like, "Oh, why would you do that? You're going to cause problems." But I think he'll react positively. But it's definitely a problem, and it's been a problem with Illinois. I mean, look at last year with our turnovers. I mean, Kasparis. I think that could just be a thing with these European guys. They're not used to this level of physicality and speed with the
Hmm.
game, so it just they get caught up. But guys like Keaton and I think Ben's actually been impressive lately, especially last game. I think he was kind of an anchor, but
Hmm.
it's the problem that they have, and they've had it for a while, unfortunately, and it's almost it's going to come with the territory of trying to play as fast as they do, but
Yeah.
it is something that I would like them to fix.
Now you mentioned Mirkovic. Obviously, he was very. I mean, he was extremely impressive at the beginning of the season against some lower competition. Had a fairly okay game against Texas Tech. Really phased out in the second half against Bama. So he's making some freshman mistakes, but like you're impressed with his play so far. But I've heard a lot of kind of rumblings from different Illini fans. Um, it's kind of at a point where maybe you want to bring him off the bench. He's a young guy. He plays with a lot of passion, and when he's at his best, he's using that passion to kind of be a powerful force inside. But you can't have that for 30 minutes a game. It's going to come with two, three, maybe four turnovers a game as well. So it's like, I've heard a lot about, like I said, bringing him off the bench, letting Ben start, which would make a lot of Illinois fans grumble if Ben took his spot. But, Ben is rebounding, Ben is blocking shots. It's unfortunate he doesn't hit his threes. Like people say he's not shooting well. He's hitting 37% on threes this year. It's just unfortunate because the ones that go in aren't really that important. And then the ones that seemingly never go in are like when they're on like an 8-0 run. And if he hit the three, the crowd would just go nuts because it'd just be like a crazy run they were on. And then just always, it's like a brick. And it's like, oh, Ben, you can hear the crowd groan. When I was there in Champaign, there were a few he shot, and it was like, oh, Ben, come on.
Dude,
Um,
people in the comments literally like they're like, get him off the team. Like you can't.
I
He's
gotta
not going
ask
to
you, are
leave
you
the
on the
team.
Ben? Like, I was on the Ben hate train last year because,
I love
especially at the
Ben.
beginning of the year, I thought he was overhyped. People were saying he was Dalton Connect. Once people came around to understanding that wasn't who he
John
was going to be,
Fantis said that, dude. It's like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But once people came around and started understanding that wasn't who he was going to be, I think he's really kind of grasped his role this year. And, if you got to sit Merck down for a few games and let the graduate seniors start to just get a little bit more solid
well,
play at the beginning of
the
the
thing
games,
with
I'm okay
Merck,
with that.
what I've noticed with Merck all season is at the end of the game, especially in the big games, he just gets scared. Like he doesn't want to shoot the ball. He just passes it, facilitates it, which is fine. But especially in that Texas Tech game, the last like 10 minutes, he was scared to shoot the three. He just did not want to make a mistake. It's probably just because he's young and he feels, I got veterans I can rely on. I'm just going to let them take the ball. And, Stojakovic took over that game. And it's good to know that we have one of those guys where at the end of the game, you can turn to a guy like Stojakovic. It's tough to say if he should come off the bench because he had a 20 and 20. It's like Ben's not going to give you that kind of performance really ever.
That's true.
But maybe it's a situation where, it's like a Will Riley situation where you have him come off the bench and then by the end of the season, he's earned that starting spot and he's really, really good. I mean, you they could go with the Twin Tower lineup. I wouldn't mind that, especially with the way Big Z's playing. I think Big Z's really been, outshining what he was supposed to be. People, everyone expected him to be like a 9, 10 minute a game guy. Like they didn't think he was going to play much at all because he never played at Arkansas and Kentucky. Then he comes here, new coaching staff. He's with his brother, way more comfortable. He's surrounded by European dudes. Him and Merkovich are like best friends. They love each other. I mean, every video I see, they're, hugging and they're really good friends. So I think he's just more comfortably found himself. And it is great that we have that extra piece because if we just had Big T and Merkovich, I mean, even with just the injuries, it's been really tough for Illinois. So I
Yeah.
think I think with Merck, you you start him, but maybe just limit his minutes. I mean, he doesn't need to play 30 minutes a game. You can take him out in the big moments to put in guys like Ben, who I think are a little bit more reserved and a little bit more clutch and a little bit, just been there, done that kind of thing. So, and then who knows by the end of the year, like I said, he could be Will Riley level and ready for the league. And I mean that's what people were talking about a week and a half ago. I mean, she was the talk of the town. Everybody wanted to, you know, name him Big Ten Freshman of the Week, and so he's definitely got the skill and the potential. But it's just a matter of fitting in with the program, getting comfortable, knowing that you can handle the big moments. Because he even said, like in the Illinois State exhibition, he was like, "This is the loudest crowd I've ever played for." So clearly, he's new to the whole.
Which is a little odd to me because some of those Serbian crowds, or I don't know if it was Serbia, but I've seen some of those European crowds at those like ABA league games, and they've got like flares in the stands, and they're jumping up and down the whole time. So I mean, I guess Assembly Hall it is pretty loud when it's a good environment. I've seen some less than stellar environments before. I was at that break game against LIU. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't thrilling. I'd imagine that game against Texas Tech was just insane. And I mean, even the United Center game, I will admit, I was so proud of the Illini fan base that night, having been at, even though we lost that game, which really sucks because just how well the crowd showed up in that United. I've never heard the United Center so loud. Um, it was shaking in there at a certain point when Andre had that dunk at the beginning of the game, and I know we're talking 3 games ago now, but when Andre had that dunk at the beginning of the game, I've never heard it so loud in there. So, and we got another big one Friday, different stadium, not the United Center, probably more of an away neutral court game. I also hate that this game is at 12:30 Eastern time. I mean, I don't care about watching it on TV. It's just Illinois never seems to do well on these East Coast trips when we go out and play at like 1 o'clock, 12:30. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's just we don't wake up in time, but we've had problems with Maryland in the past, going out to Maryland. So I don't love the tip time for this, but can't do anything about that. We're gonna have to show up either way. But let's get into that. What do you think some of the keys to that game are? What do we need to look for on UConn's team? Obviously, they have some injury problems as well. Right now, if you look at the line, I believe the last time I checked, I think Illinois was favored, which surprises me a little bit.
That's crazy
Um,
to me. That's
uh,
really crazy to me.
I know on Ken Palm, after the UTRGV game, Illinois dropped, they were like 7 and they dropped to 13, which is kind of funny. You never want to drop 6 spots in a win. But on this other site I use called Haslametrics, it's very similar to Ken Palm, but he also has his own rankings. I've been using him for a while now, Eric Haslam. Uh, if you want to take a look at his page, haslametrics.com. But anyways, he's got Illinois ranked 7 right now and UConn 11. They both have one loss. I still think, I mean, maybe it's just deja vu, and maybe it's just nightmares from that game in the tournament where they 30-0'd us on that run. But like I still feel like UConn's a better team, much different team than I mean, they don't have Donovan Clingan anymore. Um, they don't have Stephon Castle anymore. I mean, it's 2 years ago. So
Yeah,
it's
I
very
mean,
different, obviously. But
let's not kid ourselves. It's not the UConn team of 2 years ago. It's not even close to that same caliber team. I mean, but it's a Dan Hurley coach team, so it doesn't even matter how good the players are really when you have Dan Hurley coaching. So it's going to be a very tough game. I can't believe Illinois is favored. That's wild to me. I would almost guarantee that Monday morning or Friday morning that line shifts to
I mean,
UConn.
as a betting man myself, I don't tend to bet on Illinois because I can't anyways in the state of Illinois. But I mean, as a betting man myself, I got to admit I'd be taking UConn. We'll give our game projections in a little bit here, but I would be taking UConn just off the bat. But I do think that's a little bit biased because of the game 2 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, it's that in combination with the last game's performance with Illinois and the fact that UConn, recently lost to Arizona, and also the fact that UConn's had like a week to prepare, and so there's a lot of things going into it. The one thing Illinois has going for them, the tracksuits. That they and everyone's online saying, you got Sleepers Media saying, "Oh, terrible move with the tracksuit because Dan Hurley's going to see that and he's going to use that against you." We got to use it against him. We got to use the fuel that it gives us, the power that it gives us. We got to harness every single Balkan European man in the universe, and we need to harness that for the UConn game. I'm telling you right now, if Kylan Boswell does not have a dump truck of sage coming to Madison Square Garden, I'm going to be upset. We need the sage. We need the tracksuits. We need a Pizza Hut parking lot. We need everyday guys. We need all of it to combine so that we can win this game because it's going to be a tough game. But the key with Illinois truly is confidence. Merck's got to be confident. Big Z's got to be confident. Keaton's got to be confident. They have to know that they can beat this team. Because I think at the end, like in that Alabama game, they just weren't confident. They didn't think that they could beat them. They got to know that they can win, and it's going to come down to making your free throws because we know Illinois can get to the line. They've shown that. But the question is, can you make the free throws? And it's going to come down to rebounding, like we had mentioned. And I think ultimately, I don't want to say it's going to be coach versus coach, but I think it's going to be a close game. And when you have those close games, it tends to lean who's the better coach. Now, with that being said, if these players instill their will, if Big Z just comes out and blocks 4 shots in the first 10 minutes, I mean, they could really just do what Michigan did tonight to Gonzaga and just embarrass them and at halftime, defeat them before half. So I think that's going to be Illinois' key to win. I don't love their odds if it comes down to a close game, but to be honest, I'm much more confident in this year's team than last year's team. I do think we have the ability to win these games. The Texas Tech game showed it. I think last year's team, they would have that comeback would have happened, and it would have just it would keep piling up, and Illinois wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So I am confident in Illinois. Of course, I'm going to roll with Illinois all the way, but I think they pretty much have to have an A plus performance from at least three guys if they want to win this game. You're going to need either Kylan or Andre to step up huge, have a huge game, and you're going to need either Big Z or Big T to step up, and then hopefully one other person. I think if you can at least get your one of your bigs and one of your guards to have an A+ game, you'll be okay. But
Yeah, and that's the interesting about this Illini roster. They've got so much talent. In years past, there was teams like with Brandon Paul. It was like you needed Brandon Paul to score 20 a night or 18 a night, or it was just like the Illinois offense wasn't going to get to 65 points. I mean, this Illinois offense scores 70 at will. Like it's not a matter of are they going to get to 70. We've yet to see a team that can contain them to that amount so far. So, now what's going to be interesting in this game for me at least is UConn's dealing with some injuries too. I know you said Terrace Reed Jr. is gonna be he's questionable to play. Braylon Mullins hasn't played at all this year. He's questionable to play. I don't know. That's the thing about Braylon Mullins. He's talented, but it's kind of one of those things like Mihailo was supposed to play against Texas Tech, but he didn't play. It was like, do you really want to bring a guy like that for his first
right,
college basketball game into like a big game like that. And so we'll see what Hurley wants to do in that case. But they've got some injuries too, which is why I like Illinois at this spot. I know I said earlier, like I'm still worried about this game. If I was a betting man, I'd probably take UConn. Um, if I was a betting man on Illinois basketball, I'd probably take UConn. I do bet, but I'm just I think UConn's kind of one of those teams that like they haven't practiced much together either. So it's going to be kind of an interesting game. I think it'll be really scrappy. I wouldn't be shocked if the game goes well under the under. I don't know what the under is. They haven't set that yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see a defensive battle for the first time between these two teams. And if you look at UConn's last game, they weren't that impressive either. They struggled to score 70 against Bryant. They scored 72 or 74. Um, and they beat them by 30 points, but like, so their defense is obviously okay. But their offense didn't look great. And if you're going to go against Illinois, you better be ready to score 80 points. And now UConn averages over 80 points a game, but you better be ready to score 80 on Illinois because Illinois is going to at least score 80. Now their defense is the key in this game, I would say. If they're going to give up 85 to 90, they'll probably lose. Um, but I think injuries are going to be key, and it's one of those weird ones because you don't really know until game day. You don't really know until that injury report comes
right,
out a few hours before the game. Um, and Hurley's kind of also a mastermind. You know, people have been saying Brad's like keeping all these players on the DL, like hush about whether they're going to play or not, because it's kind of mind games, and it's not something you can do in professional sports. You can't do it in the NFL. You have to release the injury reports for the roster. College basketball is one of those interesting sports where they haven't said you have to put out an injury report yet until like before the game. So it's always questionable, questionable, questionable. And then, oh, they're playing now, and we haven't scouted them at all this week. So I'd like to see Tommy. I don't know what's going on in practice, obviously, because I'm not there. I'm not at Ubben, but like I'd like to see Tommy. Uh, he had an okay game against UTRGV. He just looks gassed. I mean, and that makes sense. He had his tonsils out, then he had a knee injury. He hasn't practiced much. I think they said he's practiced maybe like 15 times out of the 40 practices they've had. He's obviously going to be gassed, but like I'd like to see him look a little healthier this game, and I think he has progressed. But I think that'll be super important against a team like Connecticut. He was our best player last year, arguably at times. At least in terms of like the offense being at its best. When you have a 7 footer that can step out and shoot threes, but then also bang inside, like it's going to be a tough matchup no matter what. And Zvonimir can do the same thing, but he's just not as like physically. I would say if I had to say anything, I think Tommy's looked more like Zvonimir recently, and he needs to get back to looking like Tommy. And Zvonimir should do a better job of looking like Tommy. And I would never say that to his face because he'd kill me, because I'm sure there's some brotherly like competition going on. And he's also 7'2", so that fight wouldn't go well for me. But um, I think they both need to step up physically, and I think Tommy he's had a few practices now. I'd be shocked if he doesn't look a little better, and I'm hoping he looks a lot better. I think he's really the key to this game as in terms of the Illinois offense. And then Kylan too. Just think Kylan needs to get more engaged mentally. Last 2 games, he kind of looked a little checked out. He had that 30-point game earlier on in the season, and I was just like, you know what, Kylan's going to be. At times, I think Kylan can be like the Darren Williams of this team, just
right.
like so locked down, like so. Like he always
Well, he
shows
was
up for
he
every
was
game.
locking down Toppin. I mean, he's
No, I'm
been
not
incredible.
critiquing his defense at all. I just mean like on the offensive side, what I think Kylan fails to realize sometimes is just like Andre, he can get a bucket whenever he wants, and I think he's just sometimes too passive. Now we don't need him driving to the hole every single possession, but there's sometimes where we're like we've missed a few shots in a row, and it's like Kylan, just go get one, like just do it. I mean, I think he could be a 20
Well,
point
it's
per
because we're
game
used to
guy.
Terrence Shannon Jr. and we want that again. And
Yeah, but that was so transitional and like it was just like he would take the ball and you knew it was coming. I kind of think Andre's kind of like that, but in a more
yeah,
half court role, which is cool to see because Andre's just been phenomenal besides the turnovers this year. Um,
yeah,
but
Keaton. I mean, Kylan rather. He's got a great ability to draw contact and get to the line, which is what we need him to do. But you're right. I mean, he's very passive. He likes to, he has no problem just getting 10 points, and letting his teammates have really good games, which is, that's what you want
mhm.
in a point guard. Or, I don't know if he's really a point guard, but the thing with Kylan, at least lately, he's been having a little bit of foul trouble. And you're going to have that when you play tight, aggressive defense. And you'd like to hope that in the big games like UConn that the refs aren't going to call that kind of ticky-tack stuff because I do think in that UT game they were just calling weird under the basket stuff that like didn't need to be called at all. So I think hopefully in this UConn game they don't do that kind of stuff because generally Illinois doesn't get into foul trouble this year. That's been the talk of the town online. Oh, free throw merchants, 25 free throws to 5 free throws. And it's like, well, we're really good at getting to the line and drawing contact. You know, the problem is sometimes we can't make the free throws, and that's really what we got to work on. But I think Kylan is going to be the key to the game. I mean, he's their best defender. He can defend 1 through 5 really. So whoever their best player is that game, he can guard them. And Stojakovic is, you know, I think he's working his way to getting to become a good defender. He had that big block in the Texas Tech game.
Mhm.
He just gets beat a little bit too easily. Same thing with Petrovic. Just Petrovic's size. He's so small. He gets beat out on these pick and rolls. And that's where Kylan really excels because he's tough and he's strong and he's like a bulldog and he really can get in there. So he's going to be the key, truthfully, for the game. If Kylan can get in his flow state and guard effectively without fouling, he's going to make whoever he's guarding, their life's going to be hell. So I like Kylan. What you were saying about Tommy, I mean, preseason I was predicting Tommy to be the best player on the team, first team All Big Ten. I mean, I was so high on Tommy, and I still am. I mean, he got sick and he got a knee injury, so it is what it is. He needs to work on that, and I think he will. But it's not even a matter of will Tommy be good? It's a matter of how good will these other guys be? Will they will we want Tommy to take 30 minutes from some of these other guys? So that's going to be an interesting kind of acid test going in the future. Same thing with Petrovic. Brad really doesn't know where to play him right now. He doesn't know if he wants to take minutes away from Keaton because Keaton's playing really, really well. But Petrovic provides something to the team that nobody else, has. It's interesting to see. It's a good problem to have, when you have all these tools that you can work with. But I do believe in Tommy, and I definitely believe in Kylan a lot.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two guys you'd want to lean on anyways, being on the team for at least 2 years. We have some other returners besides them, but those were the key main pieces that came back. Now, I mean, we've kind of mentioned it before. We've already said kind of what we're thinking for the game, but I want you to give me a score prediction. If you had to pick right now, I know you said Illinois, which I like that pick, but what are you thinking for the score? I think it's going to be like I said before, I think it's going to be kind of an interesting matchup just because I don't think the teams are going to score as much as people think they are because I think they've both been so focused on defense this week. Um, but go ahead, give me your prediction if you have one so far.
Yeah, I think. if it's a low scoring game, I don't like Illinois' chances just because they're not known to be a defensive team this season. So I fear that if Illinois only scores 65 points, they're probably not going to win.
Yeah.
So I tend to lean more towards breakout game for somebody, whether that be Tommy or whether that be Big Z or I mean, it could be Benham Rickhouse. I mean, that's the great thing about this team is we're so deep. Like, anybody on any given night can have a breakthrough performance. But in my mind, I'm envisioning it right now as we speak, and I'm picturing the CBB on Fox post pop up on my Instagram that says, "Brad Underwood gets it done in the tracksuit. Illinois tops UConn 89-76." That's what I'm going with right now. 89-76.
And you've got the universe and the stars behind you too.
I
So.
got, dude, I'm literally in outer space right now. I'm just connected up to all the different wavelengths. I can see the future. I'm thinking for my player of the game, it's gonna have to be one of the bigs. And we talked about it, and it's been the talk of the week. Everyone's talking about it. Oh, Merck, he's falling apart. Oh yeah, you think he's falling apart? Friday morning, he's gonna change everything. He's gonna rewrite the rule book. He's gonna do so much of booty ball, you won't even know what to do with yourself. I got Merck with a double double, close to a triple double, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. If that exact stat line happens,
We're gonna have to keep receipts on that.
I mean, we got it recorded right now, so
That is
you'll
true.
see.
You'll
If
have to
that
put
if
that
that
in
if
there.
that result happens, I'm using this background for every episode because it's a good
We
luck.
might become really popular if that actually happens, because then we have something to actually like say, like, oh my God, Noah Morgano just literally called the exact stat line of David Merkovich in the Illinois win against UConn. Now,
Every bettor is going to be watching our show like, give me something to bet, give me the parlay, I need it right now.
yeah, they're gonna be fiending for all of those parlays after that. I think I've gone back and forth, especially even more the more we're talking about it. Now, one thing I hate doing, like I don't want to not make an Illinois prediction and like an Illinois winning prediction on the first episode of this podcast. That feels like sacrilegious against everything I know in Illinois basketball. But like I also know myself, and when I say something is gonna happen in terms of like sports, my friends will like tell you this too. My friends will pay me money to bet on the other team because they want their team to win. Like that's how it. So I feel like I shouldn't be speaking this into existence. So bear in mind, keep this receipt too. If Illinois loses after this prediction, I will never predict an Illinois win again on this show. I will just keep it silent. I'll just be like, you know what? I'm not going to say the final score prediction. You already know what I'm thinking, but I just can't say it out loud. But I'm going to do it for the first show. I'm going to go Illinois in a defensive battle, a surprisingly defensive battle. I think they get to 81. Connecticut gets to 75 with free throws at the end of the game. I think Illinois wins 81-75 in a lower scoring matchup than most people are expecting. Just something about this game being in the morning is just like I feel like that's deflating for both teams. So,
What I think is a positive for Illinois is that the Big Ten this week has been doing really well in these like feast week, different tournament things. And
mhm.
I could just see Illinois riding that success. I mean, look at what happened last year with UConn. They went to that Maui Invitational and they fell apart. They lost like 3 or 4 games in a row, and it was like, wow, what happened to UConn? And Hurley literally said, "I'm never doing another tournament like this ever again." So they're not unbeatable at these neutral venues, and I get it. It's in New York. And I think next year they're doing it in United Center. So it's kind of like an away neutral thing for both teams,
Mhm.
similar to what they did with Alabama. But Illinois fans travel. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a lot of Illinois fans at the game. But quite frankly, I don't think there need to be a lot of Illinois fans because there was a lot of Illinois fans at the Alabama game and they didn't win. So I think these European guys can perform with or without a home crowd. They they've
Maybe
been
a
in
hostile
basketball.
environment would be good for them. This is the first time they might see a hostile environment. I don't think it's going to be like that crazy pro UConn, but I mean, it is in New York, and UConn's like a state or two over compared to Illinois, which is in the Midwest. So it might be good to see us play in a non-Illinois environment. Like we're gonna play Tennessee and Nashville. That's gonna be tough. So I
Yeah,
mean, they're the same color, so they might think we're all in orange rooting for the same team, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to the game Friday. I'll definitely be up for it, which is usually earlier than I'm up for other sporting events. So I'm not missing this one though. We've both
I'll be
predicted.
working, dude. I'll literally be at work. I'm gonna have it on my phone or something.
Oh, that's gonna be tough. I had a work shift honestly, and I was like, I'm not like it would be on at work where I work, but I'm like, I'm not compromising this game. Like I'm gonna sit down and watch the whole thing. Now, I mean, we're still figuring out this whole podcast thing because this is the same or the first episode, and we're gonna have to come up with a name for this eventually. But I would imagine we're gonna do a post game recap to that either the night of or the day of or the next day or something. So if you guys are listening to this. You're welcome to tune into that when we have that available. And then, I mean, it's an exciting time to be an Illini fan. Brad is really good at
Yeah, and
scheduling these games. We're going to have Tennessee. We're going to have the bragging rights game coming
yeah,
up. So we'll be making more of these pretty regularly, I would imagine.
yeah. I want to give a shout out to Brad because I feel like there's some Illini fans online that are like, Brad, we need to get rid of Brad. He can't win the big games. And it's like, dude, have you watched Illinois sports for the last 20 years like I have? Our basketball team is not usually good. They just aren't.
Hmm.
It's so rare. Any team, it doesn't matter. Any team, unless you're a blue blood, it is so rare to make the tournament every year. I mean, every year. Look at programs like Penn State. Look at programs like Minnesota. They're terrible. I mean, look at DePaul. We have to watch
Yeah.
DePaul basketball every single year. I mean,
And
imagine if we
yeah.
didn't have Illinois and we only had DePaul. It would be terrible. And then I watch some of these Illinois fans pout and whine. And it's like, dude, you got to take a step back and look at what Brad Underwood has built. He's built a winning program. I mean, I don't know what his record is, but it's well above 500. And it's like, just very grateful for Brad. Same thing with Brett Bielema. I mean, they're not, that football team's not in the playoffs this year, but still, I mean, they're, a bowl game team every year. I mean, dude, bowl game, Illinois bowl game. Are you kidding me? That was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. So Illinois sports is soaring right now. I mean, a program is soaring when every year their basketball program is like top five like preseason. I mean, every year we get hyped up so high because we have that potential because we've done it before. I mean, we've been to the tournament as a one seed. We've won Big Ten championships. We've won the Big Ten tournaments. So I couldn't be higher on Illinois right now. Everyone's hopping on the bandwagon, and I welcome it. I'm not like, oh, you're not an Illinois fan. Get off, get away. I love it. I want everybody to watch Illinois basketball. And a lot of people do, and that's why we're getting these big Fox games, primetime games, because we got huge, fan bases and huge alumni bases. So Illinois sports, incredible. We're soaring right now. And now that this podcast exists, it's just got elevated. It's just got bumped up another level. You're
Even
welcome.
better. Uh, Noah, that was almost eloquent of you. I don't know if you purposely did that, but in the spirit of Thanksgiving, which is in 17 minutes here in the Central Time, you basically just told us you're all thankful for Brad Underwood this Thanksgiving season. I'll
Yes.
have to follow that up with my own thankful thing, I suppose, and I'll go with I'm thankful for Big Gucci Sosa. Shout out Big Gucci Sosa. I don't know if any of you older podcast listeners are going to know who that is or understand him if you do know who he is. He's a Illinois memer, and his admin like is still unknown, at least to me. I feel he
Maybe
was
in
at,
high school. I don't know what grade he's in. He's like,
but I don't know. He gets all these behind the scenes photos, and I don't know if the
he's
players
a
send him
legend.
that or. Anyways, shout out Big Gucci Sosa. Great content on Instagram. I think his page is literally just at Big Gucci Sosa if you
Shout
want to
out to
follow
Sleepers
him.
Media too.
Shout
I
out
love
Sleepers
watching
Media.
Sleepers Media.
I do enjoy those guys. They kind of inspired this podcast. But no, it was been great talking to you. We're gonna have a pre or post game recap at least after the UConn game. Um, But yeah, man, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I hope you guys are eating some good food tomorrow, and then hopefully Friday, in the spirit of Thanksgiving as well, Illinois is going to deliver a good win for us in Madison Square Garden.
ILL.
I and I, baby.